New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Welcome to Rockin the Love. I'm Robyn.
And I'm Gil. How are you all today? It's a Wednesday afternoon, and we're here to talk about the joy of relationship and relationships everywhere, and the relationship to ourselves, and what else?
It's March 13th.
It's March 13th.
That's my favorite number, 13.
13.
That was also my stepmama's birthday.
Is it March 13th?
Isn't it?
No.
It's the 12th?
It's the 12th. It's the 11th.
No, it isn't.
It's the 11th.
It's the 11th.
It's the 11th.
Because otherwise it would be 2 days before my birthday, and I would know that.
Right. It's the 13th. The 13th is this Friday.
Friday.
Oh, yeah, Friday the 13th. Oh,
Okay.
I love that. That makes me very excited. Thank you so much.
All right. Hey, this is the reason I get paid the big money as your producer.
That's right.
We're so grateful for that. Thank you so much. All right. Well, here it is in the middle of March, and we're so glad to be with you. And today on Rockin the Love, we are talking about being enough.
Being enough. Being enough. You know, when is it that we let ourselves celebrate where we are and what we've accomplished and who we've become? When do we step into that space?
That's what we're going to be talking about today. And then who knows where we're going to go with it, because we generally have different ideas. So it will be what it will be, but it will be about that psychology of enoughness and looking at it from all different perspectives of ourselves and with others and so on and so forth. But in the meantime, how was your week?
My week was incredible. It really was a great week. We had two major, huge things with the opening of the new Rio Grande Center for Spiritual Living location, with our music cafe on Friday night with none other than Jesse Powers, who was great, and our first official community connection service on Sunday morning. And we had plenty of people to make the place full, and we had most of our things working pretty well, and we had it looking pretty good, and it was all very exciting. So
we had a great turnout. We had from the community. There were people from other centers there, from Unity churches, from Albuquerque Center for Spiritual Living. We had our favorite people, Alvin and Louise, out there, and we had all kinds of people who were there to grace us with their presence.
Yeah.
And share the festivities.
It was very fun. Yes. Hello, Shay. We're glad to have you with us here. You missed it, though. You weren't here on Sunday. Where were you?
Well, you can be there on Sunday online if you'd like to look at it.
I'm going to say maybe you were there online. I actually do not know the answer to that question. So there you go.
All right. Well, so yeah, it's been a busy week, but we're finally moved in, which is exciting. And that piece of the puzzle is almost over as soon as you get the sign off the old building. And so it's just nice, you know, like people kept asking me, are you excited? I was excited to get through the first one
Yeah.
because now the first is done. Everybody was waiting for that moment to see what it was going to be like and what the center was going to look like and how it was going to be different. And now, like, that's done. So we can like proceed with life as normal.
Life what?
I know, but the normal is so
Elusive.
subjective.
Yeah.
So that's the story. I mean, other than that, that it's been so all consuming. I really feel like now it's a mini step to getting back to a normal life again. Normal. But
Well, and it is in reality, in part, what's prompted the idea for the theme today. No. Oh, normal's a setting on the dryer. Oh, I thought it was one of those jars on the shelf. Oh no, that was Abby Normal. I'm sorry, I'm confused. The jar on the shelf. Okay,
so
it's an old reference.
I'm excited that it's spring training for baseball.
Yes.
And I'm thinking about that because our friends Alvin and Louise are going to spring training, and I'm a little bit jealous, but not jealous, just wishing I was going to.
It's kind of funny because we used to live in California and spring training was in Arizona, and now we live on the other side of Arizona in New Mexico, and spring training is in Arizona. We're still one state away.
Okay, I get it. Yeah, so, but I'm excited because spring training means we're one step closer to the regular season, and that makes me really happy. So
Well, that's good.
it is good.
Having a happy wife means a happy life. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, I didn't know you had. Okay, but enough of that, of our married banter. So it's time for the good news. Good news story. I would love a good news story. What do you got? What's going on in the world that's good that they don't tell us about?
Well, I discovered a story about something that's, in some ways rather mundane, but very interesting. And it's about the idea of using satellites to predict bridge collapses. Now, that may not sound like really great news, but the reality is what they've done is developed a system for, checking out bridges from a satellite in addition to certain stuff that happens on the ground, and they are much better able to determine where they need to upgrade a bridge. And this is especially important in areas where they're harder to get to, or countries don't have as much money to do the special testing or any of that kind of stuff. And so, instead of discovering that the bridge is weakening when it falls into the river, you discover it beforehand, and you go in and you do fortifications or whatever you need to do. And I thought, it's just interesting that we can actually do that from a satellite. I mean, I'm pretty sure that when the first satellites went up, about 98% of anything we do with them now, nobody thought we would be able to do.
Right.
It was like pretty exciting that we could get something to circle the earth, let alone, be able to do all the different things that we do with satellite and satellite imaging.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, yeah, it's University of Houston scientists that's been working on this with some other folks and an international team and putting this all together.
That's
and so there you go. It's a really powerful use of a technology that's already out there and supports our well-being in the long run.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, my story is about connection, I think.
Okay.
And I think that it's about the Meathead Movers. That's a company in California, and it's the largest independently owned company. And for the last quarter of a century, they've been providing moving service to domestic violence survivors. And they've been making it possible for people to leave their abusive relationships without that financial or logistical barrier of keeping them stuck. And so in 2015, they expanded their impact by launching the Move to End Domestic Violence campaign. And it's a coalition of movers that now include 8 other moving companies across the US and over 200 businesses that offer free services like moving and storage and on-site security during moves and all different ways to participate. And last year alone, the company completed 106 free domestic violence related moves. And like that in California, they took them out of cities like San Luis Obispo, Ventura County, Orange County, Fresno, Bakersfield. And the movement has inspired this ripple effect nationwide, like Veterans Moving America in Fort Worth. That's a moving company. They've got an entire team of volunteers that donate one day a month to help survivors in the community. And so in 2020, the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence took over facilitation of the Move to End Domestic Violence and expanding its reach and strengthening support for shelters and survivors all across America. And I just, this is just such an important reminder of what we can do together, and just being conscious and aware of what's happening and how one little thing like making that, this is that degree on the chart, doing that one little thing can really change the outcome of a person's life and people's life. And so I think in this day and age, really extending that kindness and that consciousness is important.
Yeah, it's fascinating because both stories really go to this idea of brilliance in a certain way, of taking what already exists and figuring out how to apply it in a way that creates a whole new service in the world. Not only that, not only applying it, but particularly in the case of you, offering this service for free to support people when they need it. When that's just a time when if people are in that situation, they just need a way to get moved.
Right. Right. And I mean, it's the community care in action.
Right.
It's people, especially in this day and age where people are going, what's going on, what's happening. It's somebody saying, we've got you, we've got your back, you're okay, and ushering another person through it. So it's powerful. And it's, other people catch on and they have a number that, they're like, if you can donate anything like car services or, appliances or, anything that would help somebody in that situation, there's a whole network of people now that can guide you to those things.
Doing a bunch of in-kind type donations. Do they do monetary donations as well? Did you notice that?
I did not notice that.
Okay, just curious. Because I'm betting they could use some funds to help the infrastructure. So
funds always help, right?
Yeah, because they can do any of the things we just mentioned.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Just like our show.
Right.
It's exactly a great time to talk about if you have anything out there that you would like to donate. We really are looking to monetize and help, pay our wonderful producer and people a stipend of what they're worth and keep this forward motion going. So if you can donate, please donate to newthoughtmedianetwork.org.
And it's not just for our show, it's for the number of shows that are on.
It's for the number of shows, but you love us best.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah. That's the obvious.
Yeah, no, of course it's for everybody. Everybody. Anyway, however, at some point our producer Michael Magus will tell you all about a new program and how you can support that as well when we have a QR code.
All right.
And in the meantime, we're going to go to a break.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
And when we come back, we're going to talk about enoughness. When enough is enough, or is it? And when do you know? When do you know? When do you know that it's enough, and the psychology of enough, and all those good things? And we'll see what comes up. So don't go away. Join us right back here in a few minutes after these words from our sponsors on New Thought Media Network.
This is What's Up and Why, bringing you the
Come expand your spiritual journey. Join us for Just the Talk. Sundays, 1 p.m. to 6 p.m. Mountain Time. Experience Unity Kitchener and Ottawa. Center for Spiritual Living Midtown. Center for Spiritual Living Denver. Unity of Garden Park. New Thought Philadelphia. The Sunshine Cathedral. Unity of Savannah. And the Olmstead Center for Spiritual Living. Come unleash your spiritual potential with New Thought Media Network. Please help us say thank you to all of our organizational sponsors, including the Hepperlin Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Center for Spiritual Living United Life, Sunshine Cathedral, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Universal Joy Center, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Home Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. On behalf of New Thought Media Network, thank you, and please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network. Come be you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Rockin the Love. It is, as we now know, March 11th, and we are here with you on a Wednesday afternoon, like we are virtually every Wednesday. We're going to talk today about something kind of interesting. I'm Gil, and this is
Robyn.
All right. Well, we're still the same two people. So we're going to touch base on our theme title is Enough is Enough. But it kind of stems from the whole idea of how do we incorporate, if you will, success into our lives? How do we acknowledge ourselves? When do we say that was good and then move on rather than, but there's so much more to do? That kind of thing. That's my thought anyway. So we'll see where we go with this.
Yeah,
What do you
I think that when do we know what, I mean, there's many facets to it, right? How do we know we're enough? When do we know we've done enough? You know, all of those things, how do they play out? And, you know, not only like in relationship to people, but in relationship to ourselves, you know, and how we take that on and yeah. So I guess along those lines, we should start with, what does that mean? What does it mean to be enough? I know Shay has something to say about it.
Well, I mean, you really have to go to what is enough. And I think somewhere that kind of goes to that idea of what is success. When have we reached something that feels somewhat complete, feels like we've made something of ourselves? And for me, at least, I think feeling enough has always been kind of a struggle point, because I always feel like there's more that I should do, I could do, all those kinds of things. And I don't think I'm that abnormal in that regard. Probably compared to you, I'm abnormal, but not compared to most other people.
I don't know about that.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting. There's again, what is enough? If we're looking at it metaphysically, I think it's a place where it's not a measurement. It's an alignment. You know, it's about being in alignment with yourself and with your inner knowingness and your inner compass, so to speak, I think.
Yes, I think that's really true. I mean, the enoughness exists because of who we are, because we are spiritual beings, because we have been created by the one creator of everything. Then we must be enough. How could we be less than enough? Right? And so the big thing is us coming into alignment with that, believing that, living as though that were so in our own lives. And that requires us to be able to see things from our own lens and not try to judge ourselves based on what we think someone else wants us to do, what we've been told we were supposed to do, all those things.
Shay is saying, I think it's just human nature to experience it's never quite enough. Always striving, always better, growing, etc.
And in some ways, Shay, that is what keeps us moving. You know, that there's something else for us. There's something else for us to offer to the world. And I think where we get tripped up is that that whatever we've done doesn't quite cut it, rather than there's still more for us to offer, you know?
I think it's interesting because I think it all depends how we're really looking at enough. You know, is it like, oh, that's enough, I'm done, you know, it's over? Or is it that place where, you know, I know, like within, I know I've done enough when I feel like, you know, I can breathe, you know, when I can take that breath and inner exhale type breath and really go, okay, I feel complete. I honor that I did my best work here. I didn't let go of an idea. I didn't abandon myself. I stayed true to the course I was going, you know, and really just allowing that be.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's an interesting place.
And it doesn't mean it's perfect or it's over.
Right.
I think that's what you're alluding to, Shay, is that I'm not saying like I go, well, now I'm done, but I just feel complete. I feel connected to it.
And I think that's part of what at least I was thinking when I first brought up this idea was, when do we allow ourselves to feel good and celebrate what is before we move on to figuring out all the ways in which we can continue to improve it or fix it, continue to build on it.
Mm-hmm.
That, okay, this is great. Let's just honor this and honor this accomplishment and take a breath, maybe take a vacation. That would be good.
Stop teasing me.
Yeehaw! Woo! Yeah. So it's an interesting concept, but I think we need to find that way to have that place where we breathe and we're good and we're okay with ourselves.
Right.
We're really okay with ourselves.
So how do you know when? Well, let's see what else Shay said. Okay, hold on. I'll rest when I'm dead comes to mind. Trying to find more balance with this one.
Oh.
Well, again, I'll rest when I'm dead. I feel like, don't tease me. I don't think that there's rest there, but go ahead.
Oh, that's probably true. But it brings to mind a T-shirt I know I have in my drawer that says, I'm so far behind that I'll never die because I have so many things to do.
Mm.
It's the same idea. And I think we miss the opportunity to just really enjoy. And I know a couple points, like on Sunday this last week, when I sort of had to bring myself down and go, okay, it's okay to just be here and listen to people and enjoy it. I don't have to go nuts, if you will, with the idea that, well, the way we did it wasn't quite the way I thought. This didn't quite work. There was a buzz here. What's this about? Because those were all pieces that may have been true, but they weren't the container of the success. They were just more things to look at, to continue to build on it.
I think you bring up a really interesting point, because you've diverged to another thing that happened when you thought one thing should look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
So does that mean you felt like you weren't doing your best in that moment? Like, I
think, well, maybe I'm more focusing on Shay's comment that, it's never quite enough. You're always evaluating. I'm always evaluating. I'm always looking at, well, what about this piece? What about this? The success was that we had moved an entire center consisting of, 100 plus people and all the stuff and all the history from hundreds of people to a whole new place. And we had set it up and made it livable and actually very enjoyable to be together in a new space. That was a pretty big accomplishment. Now, the fact that certain things didn't work the way we thought they would, or the lights don't quite turn on and off the way we thought they might, and they don't quite look the way, none of that's important.
So to shorten what you're saying, the question would be, so did you have a feeling that you hadn't done enough?
That's a good point. I think what it was I had to remind myself to celebrate in the moment, because there was a part of me that was just thinking about all the things that were next. Mm-hmm. Not so much that I hadn't done enough, just that there's more to do. Mm-hmm. So I couldn't celebrate the enoughness of the moment. I couldn't say, this is great. I love it. And it's not true that I couldn't say that for the whole time, but I just mean that was the piece
Yeah,
that I was
You couldn't
keeping
be
myself
here
in.
now.
I was working to keep myself present in that space.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I do want to go back to my question of how do you know when you've done your best, but here's what Shay says. You could look at it as perfectionism or you could look at it as divine discontent, where that little push is what does keep us going. I think there's a big difference there.
Yes, I think there is. And my thought is that divine discontent happens, happens in a way that gives us the opportunity to feel good about what is. That's what I'm saying. We can move through what is, and this is great, and then feel a little discontent over the things we want to update. But if we're feeling it in the moment and that's all we can feel, then we're in a perfectionism mode.
And you shall Shay's
Yes.
musical antidote.
Musical antidotes. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yes. And so you can get to a place where you can't get any satisfaction because there's too many things going on, right? And so how does one, well, let me ask you, how do you know when you've done enough?
That's a really good question. And I think you really hit the idea really powerfully a minute ago. And that was that we, if we're not able to be in the moment, then we're missing out on that space of things being, quote, enough. If I can't live in the moment and all I can do is worry about what's next or look back at what didn't go right before, then I can't feel that enoughness. So really it's about allowing myself to be in the moment, to receive a compliment, to have a discussion with someone, to just look around and go and smile and go, oh, that's pretty cool. You know, I never thought this would happen, whatever. You know, because I think there's a lot of things, and not even I never thought this would happen, but sometimes it's like, oh, this is the vision. This is what I've seen. And if we don't live in that moment enough, we don't notice it, and therefore it doesn't become enough. At least that's the way I see it. It can't become enough unless I can notice it fully, and I can't notice it fully unless I'm in the moment.
I don't know. I have to process that one. I hear you, but I don't know. Yeah, I think I honestly think that on some level, knowing that it is enough is a practice. I think it's a, an allowing and a revisiting and a letting go of things. I think that it's because I think the whole thing about being enough or enoughness is really not only well, it's both. It's energetic. It's emotional. It's got a lot of mixed components to it. I think it brings up a lot of things, and I think that, for me, when I check in on if I've done enough, it's in my world because I do a lot of things, and I don't really know how I do them all, but I do them. And so sometimes I have to really just breathe into that space of, knowing that if I was fully present, and not trying to multitask and do something else, but like, am I fully present, both emotionally and physically on some level, then I've done enough, I mean, that's a gauge for me, like, because there are times in meetings where, I can, especially if there's Zoom meetings, I can start to multitask or my brain goes to another thing or I'm doing all of those things. But like when I know I've really done enough is when I'm fully present like that.
It's literally on my vision board this year to feel satisfied. Wow, that's interesting. That's a great vision to hold for oneself.
And I think that's a great question to incorporate. I mean, word to incorporate into knowing is like, are you satisfied when you at the end of the day, are you satisfied with what you've done and how you've done it? I mean, because it's kind of the same thing. Like, I mean, another gateway to knowing if you've done enough, or however you're looking at the question.
Well, two things come up for me. One is just thinking about this in terms of relationship, how imperative it is for each one of us to individually deal with this, or to figure out how to deal with someone in a situation who is not dealing with it and putting it on the rest of the team, kind of thing, the rest of the folks. And that's one aspect. But the other thing I'm thinking about is gratitude, and this idea of having gratitude journals and doing all these things. And it's about being, thankful and all this stuff, but it's also about taking a moment to acknowledge and be satisfied with things in your life, right? Because you realize each thing is important, each thing is powerful, without each of those things, my life would not be what it is. And so allowing ourselves to be grateful for all of the stuff is one way of moving towards being satisfied in our life, I think, and seeing it as enough.
Well, yeah, and I think not only enough and not enough. When we look at it, it's not like success and failure. I think when it's not enough, or when you feel it's not enough, that's just a signal. That's just a warning or announcement, a tap on the shoulder that you've ignored something. That's like we talked last week about your step, or the week before, about being who you're becoming, and that being a part of it, and like you're just out of alignment with who you're becoming when you realize, or that piece is missing, so to speak. Does that make sense? I mean, so it's really
so I'm sorry. I'm hearing you say it's really powerful to listen, and like everything, this sense of being out of alignment, this sense of not being enough, this sense of not knowing what's going on, whatever that thing is, it's giving you information about perhaps what needs to happen for you. Like if you're feeling like it's not enough, then you need to sit and be with what is. You need to get more present.
Yeah.
That kind of idea.
Yeah, I think because for me, even like the times I hear myself say, I thought of that, or I knew that was going to happen, or
oh my gosh,
that means I've ignored my intuition in somewhere else, that I haven't followed that. And so for me, that's part of my living into being enough, is learning to listen, to what's going on out there. So I think, that's what I think. So let's see what Shay has to say, because there's lots of stuff here. Depends on what the intention is and where you're coming from. Are you coming from a place of I want to do better and be better and serve and love, etc., or is it from a place of lack and proving oneself?
It's a really good point. I intend to be present for and notice when I'm satisfied. Good point, guys. It's a practice. Yes. And I think that first one is really important, because if we're coming from that place of needing to convince others of our value, then we aren't trusting the value of ourselves already. If our real goals are to continue to serve, to increase our ability to serve, to utilize our gifts more, that's great. But even that requires us to stop and be able to be fully present, so we can see where that's already existing, and where it's already coming forth. But I think when we're trying to when we feel like we have to, I think that's maybe more accurate. When we feel like we have to somehow convince others of our value, then I think we're not embracing ourselves as enough in that moment at all. What do you think? I don't know.
Yeah.
It didn't quite come out the way I hoped it would, but
Well, I think using
sure it was enough.
Shay's example, using Shay's example is a really good one, because I think her putting it on her vision board and wanting to be live into being more satisfied. That's her intention. That's who she's becoming. That's what she's becoming in alignment with or aware of. And I think that that's the whole thing about, we're all becoming, we're all becoming. And so when we don't feel like it was enough, it's kind of out of alignment with who we've been or who we're becoming, right? So I think, when you're acting, when I feel that it's enough, I then it feels expansive to me. I mean, it feels like I've opened up a space for more, which is exactly what Shay wants to do in being more satisfied, right? So, I mean, I think living into those places and really feeling, I don't know, I feel more grounded and rooted and honest and open when things are in alignment. That's the feeling that I know I'm moving into something, or I'm honing that skill that I want to see more of, as opposed to when it's the other way, when it's not in alignment and it's not enough. I feel more closed and anxious and like I'm trying to make something happen, right?
Mm-hmm. So are you saying that you feel like you're not enough, or that you've actually not been enough in some of those situations? Because I'm playing with that in my head right now, this idea of what is the message when we look at something and we go, that really was, I didn't do my best. I didn't do what I could have done.
It's a good question. I feel like it's twofold, right? Sometimes I think it's an awareness, and you can, check yourself on it and go, okay, that's not the way I want to do it. As opposed to as opposed to living in that space.
Right. I think it's a matter of, can we notice with honesty, are the times when maybe we haven't we haven't fully lived out whatever it was we wanted to do. We were in a situation with someone we talked to, we weren't listening, we got upset, whatever, something. And so there's a space where we realize, okay, yeah, that's, like I said, that's not how I want to do this. And then I think there's some level where, when is enough enough? The fact that I've noticed that, is that enough? Does that allow me to step into the space of going, being gentle with myself and going, okay, all right, so let's move on to the next thing. Let's just be present here and realize I see what happened, which is enough in this moment.
Yeah, I think I remembered just now that I wanted to talk about this in terms of three different things. Like, there's the enoughness with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's, am I doing enough with others? Whether that's the job or relationship or whatever. And then there's the big enough in the world. How am I contributing to the world? So I think what your question kind of depends on where you're operating from or what that is about. Um, yeah. So ask the question again.
Our when we how does it play out when we really are noticing that we legitimately didn't do what we thought we needed to do in a situation, that we weren't enough, it wasn't enough, we didn't put enough effort in, we didn't show up when we should have, we didn't, whatever. And then how do we take that into the space of the idea that everybody's doing the best they can, and so therefore there's some level at which the fact that I've noticed this and I see it now means that I have to move to a place of allowing whatever's happened to be enough.
Right. So again, this is where I think this is just my answer. This is where I think that it becomes a practice, and one also needs to stay awake and aware to the signals, to the signs, right? So I think, at the end of the day, the metaphysical truth is that it can only be enough. That no matter what the situation, you did your best, even if it wasn't what you would consider enough, or you didn't do it, as happily as you could have, or whatever, but trusting that it is that the enough part really has happened, and then investigating deeper and going, looking into how would I have liked this to look or to feel, or what is mine to do, and where could I do that from, and those are the situations that if you can be awake and aware to them in the next situation that arises, your brain will go, this time I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to sit still for a moment. Last time I was too anxious and I did it too fast and I, whatever, and like, so really getting in alignment with your beingness.
And I think all of that, we juxtapose it to the concept of, as Shay mentioned earlier, perfectionism, where everything we do, we judge as not enough. And if that's what's happening, then that's not being introspective, that's being cruel to yourself. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah. I mean, and it's the same thing with people we work with and things. When somebody works on a project and we go, I wish they would have done that. But if it's every time we point out all the things they didn't do, then we're not really being objective, and we're not really finding, seeing and valuing the enoughness in what's happened. We're literally looking for what we can criticize, what we can, question. And so that's one way we beat ourselves up.
But I think that's a really important point, because I don't think we always even realize how we do that.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's very subtle how we criticize ourselves, or how we don't allow the good to come in. So I think that's really important. And that, again, it's all a signal. It's all a signal, a sign to just listen and be aware to your self-talk, to your, to what's going on, and to what's going on in the situation. I think, I think we could all stop right now and just take a breath, and maybe put your hand on your heart and just feel into what can you be acknowledged for today, right now. What have you already done today that you can acknowledge yourself for? And that you can really, feel into that space. And maybe there's more questions that come up if you heard yourself say, oh God, I didn't do anything yet. So then maybe where can you soften? Where can you give yourself a break? Or maybe it's okay, where can I do a little more? But none of it has to be that um, criticism. Just being kind and compassionate and really, really looking at the possibilities. And this is, I don't know, I find myself saying this more and more on this show, but this is a big topic. Because it's like I said, I thought I was going to talk about 3 different areas of where you're being enough, and we really only talked about ourselves, which is not bad, but there's just, I think there's so many more things to pursue around it. Because when being enough for your parents, being enough for your partner,
enough for your kids, being enough for your coworkers, being enough for your friends, being enough for your students if you teach, whatever.
yeah. So there's more to this topic, and perhaps we'll come back to it and revisit. Thank you, Shay. So as we go on about our day, I would just say, just really remember that, to nourish yourself, to take care of yourself, to do what nourishes you, because that's when you're enough, when you're aligned, not when you're exhausted, when you're fully present, when you take time to drink your 8 glasses of water a day, or sleep your 8 hours, or go for a walk in nature, or ride your bike in the morning, or whatever it is that, lights you up and that brings you back to center, so that you truly can show up and be all of who you are.
And I would add to that, particularly when certain projects or events sort of come to fruition, be present for what happens. Be present to what has happened, to, the enormity of energy and effort that has been poured into it, no matter what it is. If it's been a group thing, there's all kinds of people involved. If it's been just a you thing, how much did you have to learn to be able to accomplish it? All these kinds of things. And just take a moment and make sure that in the moment as it's unfolding, you're there, you're fully there, and you're allowing yourself to celebrate it and see it as it is. Because if there's something immediately chattering in your head about what's wrong, what you did wrong, what you should have done, I think we need to remind you that we are all enough, simply by virtue of the fact that we are here as created beings.
So true. So thank you so much for joining us. And you might notice a new QR code up in the corner of our show. This is so that you can donate to the show. And honestly, in order to keep the show going, we're going to need to keep asking. So we're inviting you to prove the point that we have enough.
Mm-hmm.
We have enough, and it's out there, and we appreciate you showing your gratitude in that way. So keep on rocking the love, y'all. We need it. So be present. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I got
Finish it.
No.
You got to finish it. I've been waiting all show to say this.
Say it.
That's enough out of us.
See you next week. Rock the love, everybody.